And we are
Good
back.
evening. So, Diego, how was the preparation today? Did you like it?
Yeah, everything went swimmingly as all things go. You have so many technical things you gotta take into account. Um, yeah, but we made it. Started at 9 o'clock sharp.
My
We
compliments.
got a waiting room at the
Well, we have a very special guest today. He is not only a dear friend, which I should say first, a very critical friend, somebody who's always available to help others, to help other Surinamese people succeed. And that's the first way I'd like to introduce him without the titles and everything. First, it's somebody who really wants others to succeed in Suriname as well. And secondly, most people know him as the CEO of Apptastic, one of the main app building but also web development building companies in Suriname. And it's a lot more, which we'll talk about as well. And there's so many things I mean, the list is quite long. He's one of the few Surinamese vice presidents, global vice presidents of the GCI. So there's so much. I don't know where the list ends. So I think we just have to introduce him, Mr. Rajiv Hieralal. Welcome to Social Confoes. Whoa, yes.
Hi,
I think
good evening, everyone. I think this is my cue to say hi. So, hi.
welcome to the show, Rajiv. I think you forgot a few there to mention. From being is also the YLI alumni. That's the program going on now. I think we'll talk about that as well. We all have some our own personal stories regarding that. Um,
Yeah.
and the national vice president, and something very dear to Rajiv's heart, the Silicon Dorp initiative that he's started recently, and we definitely want to hear more about that. For the topic for today, we're talking about building Suriname on a national level.
Yes, and quickly we want to do Gregory. Yes, the audio is good, but it's a little bit laggy on Diego's side. We're not gonna get into the details of the preparation for today, but we're happy that we're live. We'll try to figure out what's going on the audio side and why it's a little bit laggy. Leroy, welcome back to the show. Good to have you again this week. We're looking forward to some awesome questions from you later on as well. So, Rajiv, where do we start? Like we did a general introduction now, but the story of Rajiv Hiralal, where does it start?
Okay, that's a good question. I think let's start at where I live. I live in Dorp. That's outside the capital of Paramaribo of Suriname. I mean, and I live on a farm. Oh.
We're
Sorry,
still
yes.
here, don't worry.
I live on a farm, and I decided to also move my company, which was in the city, to the farm, and make that my story to say it, and because I really found a balance between let's say the famous saying "people, planet, and profit."
Okay, because of course we're gonna jump in right to the Silicon Dorp story, because there's a bigger picture. You just said you're very into people, planet, profit as well, but there's a bigger picture to you representing Lily Dorp, because it didn't start there. I think it also started with GCI Urban. I don't know which came first, the ambition for Silicon Dorp or the ambition to build GCI Urban to what it is today. Is there some connection there as well?
No, there was nothing actually. Not in terms of connection, but I didn't even realize that I wanted to have a second daughter, or I didn't even know JCI. But in my core, I always believe that Suriname has something special to offer. When I grew up, I was always asked, who do you feel more like, or do you feel more like a Japanese, or do you feel more like an Indian? Because I'm a mix of both. And crazy me, and that is the one thing I remember of me being very, very young, 2 or 3 years, is I decided to answer all these people that I am Surinamese. And they stopped asking me that question. And that's where the pride and the belief in my country grew even more.
Okay, you're getting a shout out from Jörn. Go Senator. So let's talk a little bit about, because you're wearing not only representing Suriname, but you're also wearing a GCI shirt. So tell us a little bit about the journey of GCI. How did it start? And of course, the experience of being a vice president for the GCI globally. What has that meant for your life or for your career or both?
Okay, well, I joined the organization 2006. I was only 18 years old, um, and coming from the high school VWO, and uh, wanted to do more. Join organization. I first met them through the speaking competitions that they had, and that's where it started. And the first chapter of GSI Unified. And the great thing about GSI actually is that I discovered my own strengths and hidden talents that I didn't even have through the opportunities they provided just by doing stuff. And my first project was one to set up a magazine. We needed to do an internal newsletter, but I decided, no, I don't want a newsletter. Let's do big. And at that time, there was United Magazine. Let's at least bring it to that level. Let's be the best push forward. And we managed to do that. Internally, we set up that magazine fully in English as well. And through that process, I discovered self assurance about finances, self assurance about my graphic design skills, and that's where it lifted up. Many projects. Back then it was free, but I was glad to do it for free, to do graphic stuff for free. But because then I got a chance to practice my skills, practice my customer engagement skill, work on everything, because I was a really nerd and introvert back then.
So in a sense,
So that's the JCI.
yeah, you could say that JCI formed your or awoken your entrepreneur spirit, because guys, as a serial entrepreneur starting, uh, one of the best stories you see on online on learning from the top or from their garage. Because I know Rajiv from the university. We go a while back, and he was a senior, so we were in the same faculty uh, department, and he brought me into JCI as well. So I saw this guy walking around promoting the event we're having at later, and he said, "Yeah, just go along, see what it is." And yeah, I swung by, and that's was my first encounter with the organization. And just like GMI, it has it pushes you to certain degrees to discover yourself, and also challenges you enough to yes, try new things and take new challenges onto yourself. And looking back the past, I think it's 8 years now that I've been in the organization, you can see the growth. I think Rajiv as well, going from 18 years old, the minimum age limit even. I started a bit later. And I think it took you 10 years, to get on an international level, which is really, really impressive for not just anyone, but at such a young age as well.
Yes, it is still. Sometimes I think, why do you do these crazy things? Why do you want to? Why did you push that boundary to go international and experience a load of uncomfortable experiences? And I must say, I felt a bit at the beginning out of my league. But then I had to just get back up and get on that level, to be very honest. And that's actually almost the story of my life, putting myself in uncomfortable positions only to learn more about myself and become better.
Could you tell us more about how that experience now translates to your business, how you set up your
Business, yeah.
business? Started with Aptastic, even that backstory. I was there from the start, remembering that small office, 3 by 3 meters, on the Hadi Benjamin Strat, and I was there. I remember that.
Oh no,
To
those are some very crazy stories. But your how that leadership or how has it shaped me? Okay, I'm just trying to find a cool note there. But I'll stick to the international one. The international part was the grown up league. That was the grown up league, and in the sense that you engage as an individual, but also you represent a nation. And when you deal with people, you you need to be very specific. You need to have a formal agenda in terms of what the country needs to do, etc. But also your interpersonal skills needs to make that formal agenda people motivated to get on the formal agenda. And that's one that I take back home in terms of continue to build uh, build my company, but also uh, in joining other organizations, there's the formal side and the informal side. The famous saying, things are not happening on the actual meeting, the actual decisions are happening on the floor. But there's a whole, you could say, a whole book or a whole set of instructions that you don't get to learn in school or anywhere. You actually have to learn it through experience to make mistakes and making it happen. And the one thing I take pride in is that always Suriname for me is me representing Suriname, and Suriname needs to get one step forward, one step further, one step further.
Awesome. I'm actually looking at a video which is Suriname related because we're gonna talk about a lot about that. It's Suriname related. It's also Rajiv related. And then of course I want to tell another story about it as well. So I'm trying to figure out which is the best way to share it and have the audio work. So while I set it up, Diego, maybe you have one more follow-up question for Rajiv, and then I'll share the video.
Yeah, sure. I guess listening to what you just said and having that experience on the floor, as you say, playing in the big league, because you start meeting people that are CEOs of these multi-million-dollar companies, and from Japan, from Canada, the US, all over the world. So what was your, I guess, one of your earlier encounters when you met such a person on that was on that scale in their professional, I guess, career, and you're reflecting that back to the stage where you were with your company?
Well, the cool thing is about it, ACI, your wealth is not, you're not measured by your wealth. It's actually, we're at the same mission. So I didn't even get a like treat, hey, you're there and you're there. I actually got a chance to just ask questions. Hey, how are you doing this? And people are glad to share how they dealt with their experiences. No matter if they're from NGO business or a multimillionaire, they're just glad to offer that help. And that's one of the things about networking is not done through a business card. Networking is done through creating friendships, and through those friendships, you get a lot of things done.
We got an
See,
interesting
this
comment
is why
here.
he's a senator. This is why he's a senator, Diego. His
Yeah,
answers is so much more political correct than I would do. So I quickly wanna, before you share Gregory's comment,
yeah.
Diego, I wanna let Rajiv know that Cecil also said hi, and Joseph is back as well this week. So thanks for joining in again, Joseph. And now you can go to the burning question, Diego.
Yeah, Gregory has an interesting comment here, and maybe you can demystify it a bit for him. So he says his opinion or observation of organizations like JCI and the Rotary is how they use titles and status. Of course, it's possible to do a lot of good, but he always gets a cold vibe from it. Um, is that a misconception that people have, or because you say they treat you like, on an equal level, they're open to talk, but then from an outsider's view, with when people hear JCI, they see the titles and addressing you so politely. It's kind of a cognitive dissonance that you create in people's head.
Okay, yeah, that's a good question, and I like to answer simple. Basically, if you're using the titles and the titles make you get a cult vibe, then you're in a big cult. Because any company has titles, etc. And but the one thing I would like to address is what Diego already mentioned is each organization has a culture, and through that culture, you have either you build a one level playing field culture, or you have the hierarchical guard culture. That almost gives that a cult vibe. But I would say try it, and then make your decision, because that's also what I thought, because I heard people say those things, and it's almost the same with a crypto. If you would only believe the hype or the stories that are being told, you would probably not do it. So first, my advice, just experience it, and don't limit yourself to JCI Rotary. And there are other international organizations also out there. And for us, for me, it's important that that you utilize the tools that these organizations have, but at the same time, try to brand Suriname at a better level. Because when they hear Suriname, they expect something else, and not in a
Well,
positive sense.
no, no, no. Actually, I want to correct that. In the Rotary family, if you speak of Suriname, they're like they know how to party. That's one thing. Like that's one thing that we've put in, and yeah, we're not gonna get that out. Gregory, I might jump into this answer a little bit later. For now, I'll keep it with Rajiv's answer. Quickly, Jill says hi. Thank you for joining in, Jill, as well as Marvin, and very nice. Thank you, Nancy, for joining in as well. That's pretty cool. We just spoke about GCI, and I personally first met Nancy through GCI as well. Um, so I've the video uploaded as well. They think that's Suriname is in South Africa. I don't think Rajiv was talking about that, Joseph. He was talking about something else. But we're quickly gonna show a video. It's a quite short video, and then we're gonna talk about it because there's a backstory behind this video, also from the side of myself and Diego.
So I'm here on the Falls Matter, and speaking of life-changing experiences, definitely visit Falls Matter. Um, and one of the life-changing experiences as an entrepreneur one should have is the YLI experience, Young Leaders of the Americas Initiative. So if you're still not sure if you should sign up, I hope this video will persuade you in joining. Because if I came all the way to Falsbetter to make this video for you guys, just to prove that you should join, my man, my friends, you should really consider it. Bye bye.
It's everything into one. It's branding the program, the YLI program. It's branding Suriname. It's so much. It's I think it's such a personal touch and so much of something Rajiv would do that we just had to share this video, of course.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Martino says that you flew there with a chopper. Is that correct?
Um, for now, the rumor, I'll stick to the rumor. Yes, I flew in a chopper. So,
So okay, so we're introducing a new segment today. Diego and I briefly discussed this segment, and I want to call this. Well, actually, we want to ask the people who are joining in whether we should call it "Let me tell you a story" or "Story time," or what were the other options, Diego?
Something about the truth.
Oh yeah,
True story. True story.
true story. So I'm gonna put it here. So the option A was "Let me tell you a story." Option B was
Story time.
story time with, and the option C was
True
true
story.
story. So we want to ask the people who are joining in to let us know in the comments which of these three you would like best for this segment. And quickly, while Joseph wants to point out it was truly a great experience, Rick joins in as well from Facebook. Thank you everyone for joining in, Rick. Now you can actually see that the show is actually in English because we laughed about it. And Consuelo here says, love the GCI culture. With people coming in, be so for now it's story time with. So I'm quickly gonna
Oh,
be
that's three.
everybody so far is saying B. So let's quickly put in the banner that says B, story time with, and then we're gonna have a quick story time with. So okay, so this is the story. Welcome to Storytime with Social Confoes, and we're quickly gonna tell the story of how I missed the opportunity to actually meet Barack Obama. Because while if I remember correctly, Rajiv, first was it was an initiative under Obama. So one of the
yes,
first years in 2015, which was the last year, of course, Trump already won the election that year, but during the time of YLI, Barack was still president, was still acting president. And basically, also a very big selling point for YLI in 2015 was you would get to shake Obama's hand. That was kind of the promise of the program. Now, somebody approached me to join the program at the time in 2015, and I ended up not signing up or not going for it um, because my daughter was less than a year old. And from where I was with in the relationship with my wife, it could have broken up our marriage, or it could have had a very big impact on my marriage for having a child less than a year old to leaving the country for 3 weeks. The country which she came to for me, leaving it for 3 weeks for a program. And telling her, yeah, but I'm going to shake Obama's hand was kind of a hard sell. It wasn't really a sell that I would go through. And then the next year, I would have could have applied as well in 2016. But in 2016, um, is when Ineffable was founded. So that would have meant that if I would have gone to Wailai in 2016, it might have not Ineffable might have never happened. So for me, it's on one side, it's really like, yeah, I really wanted to go. It's one of the hardest choices in my life that I had to make. But both in 2015 and 2016, I still, if I look back, I still feel I made the best personal choice for myself. So it still hurts. I'm still kind of not heartbroken, but it still hurt that I didn't do the program. But on the other side, at that point in life, I had other things that had a higher priority. And for those watching that are like, okay, but why you didn't try it in 2017? Basically, my life after 2017 changed that much that the program, the biggest things that I wanted to learn in the program, those were not of the similar interest that they were in 2015 and 2016. So that's the story of me uh, passing on a chance uh, to actually meeting Barack Obama. So that's my side of the story.
Yeah, mine wasn't as grandiose as yours. That I got personally approached like you did, but I did know a few people from the very early pilot first cohort before they officially did applications, and yeah, I heard about it from them. Because Rajiv, if I remember correctly, you were the second cohort, right, after the pilot, and yeah, they told me that it's going to be there again next year, but it wasn't as widely promoted as it is now. Like on every social media, you got alumni pushing it through their personal channels and everything. So I didn't realize it was 1 year later again, and the time arrived to apply again. So I actually missed the deadline. I saw Rajiv leave to the States, and oh, there was a program that I could have applied to. So yeah, and but then I applied the next year, didn't get through the selection, applied again, got one step further in the selection, applied again, got through the interview stage, so almost there, didn't get through, and that was in 2019, right before before the situation we're in now happened, and that was kind of fortunate for me as well, because I had a choice to make whether to which country to go to which program, and I was planning it in such a way that how could I do both? But when I heard the news that didn't get through the final selection, I was relieved. I was relieved because then I could focus on my other option.
Which was a year long
Yeah.
New Zealand. So, Nancy, don't say poor Diego. He had a great 2020. Don't worry about it. So, Rick asked the question: is Obama still associated with Wailai? Is that the case, Rajiv, or not?
No, I don't think officially. He might be now more affiliated again with President Biden. But the thing what happened 2016 when we went to the program. It was election. We went to DC on election day. We actually, I also went to election voting station, etc. And we expected to meet President Obama, but he couldn't. He didn't come, obviously. But he did send Richard Branson.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
so I was happy.
Jean-luc, you missed your
nice
chance to
compensation.
shake Richard Branson.
Yes, so I missed Obama and I missed Richard Branson the year after that. So yeah, okay. So I now officially missed two people that I
But
wanted
it's
to shake
okay.
hands with.
And let's say this.
Yeah.
I also have would like to invite President Obama to Suriname to visit. So that's one of my goals to have these guys visit Suriname. Maybe with Richard, he can fly in one day. We take him to Valsberg and have a great time there, and he flies back home. Because that's really one of the great things to experience.
Okay. Okay, so because we've been speaking about branding and you've been slowly putting it in there, and we're already through the halfway mark. So before we go to branding Suriname, let's do a quick fire round. For those of you who are not familiar with the quick fire round, basically Diego and I ask questions to our guest, and these are short yes or no or A or B questions. And then you get to elaborate on one or two questions of those questions afterwards. So, are you ready for some quick fire questions?
I'm not.
What happens? Oh, you need to do the firing. Is that true?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
need to do the firing questions. Yeah, so Keiji just said, just wanted to say that why don't we bring Obama here? In case you missed it, Rajiv just mentioned that one of his goals is to actually get Obama here. One of my goals is to get Zuckerberg here. No, actually Gary Fee to
Yeah.
Suriname. That's a bigger goal
No,
for me.
you don't want
Yeah.
Mark, man. Why do you?
Yeah, I want to have Mark here. I do want to have Mark here, and I'll explain in in another episode. But it's I don't think it's that relevant for this episode. So, are you ready for the quick fire, Diego? I
Yeah,
tried to
I
do
am.
something
Yeah, I
crazy
am.
with
I am. I
with
am.
the
I
quick
am.
fire. All right.
Awesome. I'll go
So,
first.
all right,
Yes.
go ahead.
Easy then. Easy then. So, Rajiv,
Yes. No,
beaches,
go ahead. Go ahead.
beaches or sulas?
Plus, 100%.
Okay, okay. So we just mentioned Richard Branson. So Richard Branson or Elon Musk?
Elon.
Elon. Okay.
Elon Branson. Elon Branson.
Yeah. So Elon. Yeah. Okay, Diego.
Elon.
Yeah.
The wildlife experience or the JCI Japan
JCI.
Academy?
Oh, wildlife. Wildlife.
Well, okay, what just happened? Because he switched answer mid question.
No, I
No,
went
he,
specific. Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay,
the
okay.
two kind of exchange programs. The JCI also has a program for if you're going to national president and international. The Japan chapters, they have this grandiose big program that you go through to basically, yeah, get you ready for the job.
yeah, you
Okay.
get to experience Japan from hospitality and all that, the whole culture. It's a smart setup. But I would still do the wildlife program.
Okay. Getting a worldly renowned brand, having them headquartered in Suriname, or having a Surinamese brand headquartered in uh, one of the biggest cities in the world. So let's take New York.
No, the first one.
So
Having
a
a
big
global brand
company, yeah,
headquartered in
Yeah,
Suriname. Okay.
definitely.
because that global brand can be from here. Okay, final question for me. Um, let's bring it to branding. Silicon Dorp, Silicon Valley.
Oh, branding. Hey, definitely. So Dorp, can you can easily change that with a Wakanda or something. But that's a 100-year goal. Probably I won't be there to witness it, but Silicon Valley has its good sides, but also has its bad sides. Suriname, with its strengths, combined with its strengths of Silicon Valley, you get Silicon Valley.
Okay. Um, Nikeri or Maravena?
Mm. This is so
People,
tricky.
please don't take this personal. If you're watching this and you're living in Nikeri or Maravena, don't take this personal.
I would say Marawena. I would
Want to
say
share
Marawena.
why?
Uh, because I didn't go yet, so I'm pushing myself to explore.
Okay.
But Marawena uh, has, I think, well, both districts are awesome and has a lot of potential. But Marawena has something that I didn't go there yet, but it seems to have something. I can't point out it. Called me some treasure there.
Well, one of the things is one of the internet cables comes through Maravena, comes in from that side. So that might be a trigger. And also, I don't know if you've. I mean, Biggie Pan is nice, but I don't know if you've seen pictures of Galibi as well. So
Mm.
it's kind of a.
Okay,
So
okay.
we're having a couple of before we go to the main topic of today. Rajiv, they want Juan Luis Guerra to accompany Barak to Suriname. Um, Rick is asking, no Japan, and he's also laughing about Silicon Dorp. Rick, in case you don't know, Rajiv already bought all the property surrounding your house to make Silicon Dorp there. So and uh, and maybe a little bit, still a little bit more of the story of vision of Silicon Dorp. Maybe in short, you can for those people who joined in a little bit late before we move to branding Suriname, what do you want to share? What do you want people to know about Silicon Data?
Actually, this is a good question to lead into the branding. Aside from the story vision behind Silicon Door and the answers you've given to our quick fire, I think it's a nice way to paint a picture as to how to start or how to progress branding the country as a whole through those elements.
Okay, no,
Yes.
thank you for that question. So Silicon Valley, you can see Silicon Valley is an innovation ecosystem, and that innovation ecosystem has elements. You need to have innovators, you need to have venture capitalists, banks, all types of things. And I asked myself, why not in Suriname? Why can't we not have that? And not a copy of it, but just the ecosystem, innovation ecosystem, the best practices, and then join it with our strengths. And our strengths are a lot. First of all, how would you like to build your startup from a Sula? Imagine being in Bergendal and then taking your jet and taking a Sula and then coming back to your office in Bergendal. Wouldn't that be awesome? Uh, so those are the things. I mean, in the States it's cold. Here it's warm. You can turn on the AC. You have fresh air. We have different choices in food and many other strengths. So why combine it? So that was the thought behind that. And I'm from Leyte, so I then coined the name. Oh, let's just call it Silicon Duck. And then I realized Suriname is a dot, and so it's the whole country. And if you even look at more abstract view, the whole Caribbean is a small. It's also like a dot. So I think you can jump from a little town to the whole country, to the whole Caribbean with Silicon Dot.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that the country or like the whole Caribbean is a dot of, because fun story here. I have a few friends from Africa, and you know the population and the size of the countries in Africa. So they come from villages, communities. So I have a really good friend from Kenya, and when we were talking with the other Caribbeans, they were saying, "Oh yeah, we have a population of this is," and then he replied, "That's a village. We can adopt all of you and put you in our country." So from that sense, from that perspective, yeah, if you look at the sheer size, you could consider us that that way. And I think the Dorp terminology is kind of a fun, appropriate pun to that.
It's interesting because from as small as we are, it's amazing how much we have accomplished. And of course, it's a lot of individual accomplishments. But if you look at the heritage, the Surinamese heritage, see, we all always kind of make these jokes about Suriname. Oh, that's typical Surinamese. Oh, that's typical Surinamese. And often it has a negative connotation to it. But if you because if you look at it from a different perspective, if you're asking yourself like, what is typical Surinamese? What is typical Surinamese character? Which you will find is interesting. I think one of the main Surinamese characteristics is that somebody from Suriname can fit in anywhere in the world. I think because of our multi multi ethnic background, from all the things that we experience from a young age, also through economic situations, we're much better equipped of dealing in a difficult economic situation as compared to a Western country where you kind of grow up and there's always this kind of support system and this economic support system, and then all of a sudden when you come into a situation where you don't have that support system, you don't know what to do. But in Suriname, you grew up with that, without that support system. So when you actually get into a country where there's a support system, it's only a positive for you. But the other way around, if you come into an environment and into a situation where you don't have a support system, you're kind of used to it. So it's a very different perspective of looking at things. And sometimes it's hard because it's hard to, you don't fit in anywhere, and you go to Miami and people think you're Latino. And they just automatically start speaking Spanish to you, and you're like, wait, I'm not a Latino. And that kind of happens everywhere in the world. So everywhere in the world, if you're Surinamese, you are able to adapt easier anywhere in the world. And I think that's one of the advantages that we don't, when we talk about what's something Surinamese, we don't talk about it that much.
That's true. I remember going to Bolivia and passing the immigration there. And, oh, you're from Bolivia, you can pass. Don't worry. Which is really, I was like,
Yeah.
okay. But we take a lot of things for granted. I mean, even just taking a shower, Jean-luc, in terms of that, we don't need to preheat it. It's basically drink water. You're showering and drink water. When I take a shower in any other part of the world, in the States, for example, or in the Netherlands, I get rashes after 3 weeks. And I don't have this problem in Suriname. I think my skin is too, how do you say it, verwend, too spoiled.
Yeah.
But
Don't
I have so
don't
many
drink
blessings.
water. Yeah, don't drink water from the hotel room, faucet. Those kind of things. We're just so used to opening up and just pouring water and just drinking water. And then when you're in a hotel room in the States, it's like, yeah, you shouldn't drink that. It's not made for drinking water. It's actually just water to shower or brush your teeth, and that's the most you can do it. So I think that's also something that we underestimate. And before this podcast, I almost wanted to make a list like, okay, these are the 100 things that we should be proud of Surinamese, because there are a lot of things we should be proud of. But like Rajiv said, we do take it for granted. I think the biggest example is Anthony Nesty. Anthony Nesty was just named the the best swimming coach of the US. And he had already won that prize regionally twice in his first 2 years, and he's now considered one of the, or not the best college swimming coach in the total US. You know how big of an accomplishment that is. And
Yeah,
and we covered this in a sports podcast a couple of months back about how when Anthony Nesty, when he won gold, um, in '88, I think. Um, when he won gold, there was this big parade. Everybody went to Sandere, pick him up. The, everybody through the whole street was there for him, cheering him on. And then in 92, when he won bronze, he won a bronze medal at the Olympic Games for Suriname. And he came back home and there was nobody waiting for him. And it was like, wait, and um actually, his coach prepared him for it. Like, listen, you're not gonna get the same. But he was like, yeah, but I won an Olympic medal. Do people understand what it is that you win an Olympic medal? He didn't say that, but that just tells us something. Like since then, since 1992, we haven't even gotten close to winning an Olympic medal. And in retrospect, that is something that the way Letitia Friesda came back, she was a medal winner in the world championships, but somehow the athletics board couldn't make it work to have her part of the board to help Suriname grow. Clarence Seedorf, who is one of the biggest winners in Champions League history, came here, built the stadium, and wanted to build the sports complex, but they just didn't want to give him the status that he deserves. He they didn't want to give the complex his name. For God's sake, he's bringing in all the money. He's bringing in all the big connections, all those people that can help us. But somehow it's kind of like, yeah, but and it just doesn't happen. And that's something that does worry me. And I think in politics, this will play a very big role in the upcoming elections, where um, people who are successful abroad, like people who have Surinamese roots, who are actually proud to be Surinamese, um, they are looked at as being like, yeah, you're a traitor. You didn't stay in Suriname, so you're not one of us. And I think for us, it's very important to kind of bridge the gap, because if we want to properly brand Suriname, we need successful Surinamese people outside of Suriname as much as we need successful Surinamese people in Suriname. So this is something I do want to put on your plate to talk about, because I think this is very important if we're going to talk. I'm going to give a last tidbit of a last example. Raoul Nijhorst, who made two books on
Mm.
famous Surinamese people or people with Surinamese roots. At a certain point, we had a discussion, and I'm very glad that he had discussion with me, because I was ranking Facebook pages, Surinamese Facebook pages, and he was telling me like, "You're leaving me out of the ranking." And I told him I only look at pages who have like 60 or 70% of Surinamese fans. And I'm only listing those pages, which was a criteria. It was a criteria which I could change, which was flexible. But that was for me kind of the criteria. And then he was like, yeah, but you don't know that I have a Surinamese passport, right? And I was like, whoa, no, I didn't know that. And that's something that, somebody like Raoul Nijhorst, who's a renowned photographer, but lives abroad, works abroad, has his company abroad, but kept his Surinamese passport. And we're like, yeah, but you're Dutch. You're not one of us. And that's something that we do have to overcome.
Yes. But first of all, I would like to just give a shout out to, because you mentioned about this, our athletes right now coming home. I'm happy that this has changed, and so I think two people are in this call who helped change that. Sylvia, Jacobi, and Consuelo. I think when Rosenstruck and Dean Hore, that the team came back, you see her naked dancing with her. So that's the kind of welcome we should give our stars, even if they lose. So that's a good step. And yeah, the part about the mentality that we have, or that is somehow instilled in us, it's almost like a father having children with one mother and another mother, and years later they discover each other, they become old, and they discover each other, and now they've been fed separate information about each other, and then now they come back and they start hating each other, or have some kind of mistrust issues, because it's not even their fault. and that's basically how the situation. And I think that's also I also had to deal with this one. How can we embrace each other? And I think just like myself, a lot of people are also still dealing with that. How can we embrace and while at the same time not losing our identity? And that's a discussion we still have to have as a nation. What's our identity? So I won't go into that, but just talking about mentality and in general, there is a crab mentality, CRAB, crab mentality. Crab mentality. Uh, yeah, I have to start out. The Caribbean, and so we've been and also Suriname. We've also been accused of our citizens having that kind of mentality. And I ask myself, how do you handle that? Because 75 years from now, if you want to reach that high level, we will have to deal with that. The ecosystem that you have to build, we have to trust and share more with each other. But if we have that mentality or people have that mentality, how do we handle?
Oops. I hope he'll get reconnected very soon. While
Yes.
we sort out that technical difficulty, I'll chime in a bit. Talking about okay. Yeah, Rajiv, you are talking about the mentality, but before you continue, let me just uh, share my thoughts a bit on that. And yeah, I agree. It's a mentality, a culture that you need to cultivate if you want to create. I'm relating this back to the ecosystem vision you're building with the Dorp. Um, it's something you have to cultivate to lift each other up, but then that brings the question, you having a lot of international experience now, from what you've seen, are our problems, that mentality that we've so discussed, unique? And is it something Suriname, Caribbean, or is it just something that you see in developing countries? And how, as Jean-luc said, should we attempt to bridge that as a country as a whole?
Okay, and this is interesting because I don't have the data on this, so I can only make an assumption. And I think it's definitely a bit linked to being uh, colonized and as a nation, but not on the first stage, on the later stage, the exit part, because there a lot of things happen there, and a lot of strategies were used. And I think it's definitely linked to that. Those nations, the South American nations, the Caribbean nations. I haven't experienced this in Europe, to be honest. The but maybe because they started earlier with building that ecosystem. So that's also a possibility. But what important is, I think um, they realized that this was an issue. I guess they started out in their education system, changing their education system, but also the support systems as a whole. So yeah, we have a long way to go, and just jumping back to that mentality part. Um, Before I joined JCI, I had I had the I was wired in a way that I wanted to complain. The government doesn't do this, doesn't do that, da da da. That. And after I joined JCI, I said, okay, how can I add value to it? How can I help solve this? So that's one of the biggest added value this organization had, is changing my mindset and my attitude toward things. And that actually helped me a lot, because when you look through the world to add value and creating solutions, you live differently. And I think that's still what we need to address. And to come back to that part of the mentality, also crab mentality, how I think how we can lift each other up is actually slowly but surely raise the platform in that barrel. And then we realize that we're on top of the barrel and, hey, wow, let's go for it.
I do wanna jump into that because Michael here made a very interesting statement. I think we have the crab mentality because in general I think we believe that there's not enough for everyone. We should be thinking more in terms of abundance as Suriname has enough resources available. I think this is a very valid point, Michael. Thanks for joining in on this. And I think also that we have to realize that the market now, it's a short sort of thinking like there's not enough for everybody. But we look at the Surinamese market as just the Surinamese market. We tend to kind of look in the boundaries of Suriname. And once we start accepting, especially what we are seeing now with COVID, with the internet, all of a sudden the market isn't just Suriname. We're not just here, and there's not just 500,000 people who can consume your product or your service. There's much more than that. The rest of the world wants to know about Suriname. We have so much rich culture, things that we can tell about, where others will be like, wow, we didn't know that. And the funny thing is, somebody told me this, and then we started looking at it, and we started realizing the people who are showing us how great Suriname is are often people from abroad coming here and realizing what we have. And it's the same. Somebody came here from the US on a mission for the US government, and he had found out about acai, and he started making dried acai fruits, and it kind of blew up in the US. And we're like, what? And all of us now are watching this. I think he's from Ghana, but I'm not sure. This African YouTuber who lives in the US who is reacting to Surinamese songs. And all of a sudden we're like, yeah, look at him reacting to our songs. But that should make us realize like how good Surinamese music actually is. And I'm waiting for Surinamese artists to go viral in Africa. And maybe we should just start targeting YouTube videos from Surinamese artists in Africa and just see what happens. Because just like Asonto reached Suriname, I'm pretty sure Kaseko and Kawina can reach Africa as well. And people can be like, wait, what is this? We definitely dig this. We feel this. So if we start thinking about the market is bigger than Suriname, there's enough for everybody because the market isn't just Suriname. We should think bigger. Then we might be able to do that. And I think the people are also joining in and talking about that as well. Uh, we need to value each other more, and we need to want others to succeed. It can be lonely at the top. You need to understand that you do not want to be there alone. I think that's a beautiful way of saying it. And yes, it will benefit us all if we lift each other up. And Stephanie also shares in that somewhat unfortunate when our story gets told by foreigners. Means we have an important job to do, marketing our own content. Definitely. And I think for sports, the thing that I really like, I think Biggie Boy is really putting us on the map. But where we shouldn't only focus on Biggie Boy, Renzo, but also on Jair Jonefa, who had a world record, but also on the other fighters like Donovan Wisa. Of course, Biggie is in the biggest division in the UFC, and that's why we focus a lot on Biggie, and we should be happy what he does. And but also Donovan Wisa and other fighters. Soma is also one of the MMA fighters. He fights for Bellator, a little less known, but also somebody. And what happens if these sporters don't get the acknowledgement or the support from us? They kind of start distancing themselves. We have somebody with Surinamese roots who actually won in the NFL, but we don't know his name because we don't know the story. Yeah, so this we have somebody with Surinamese roots who was in the team of the First Lady Michelle Obama, but we don't know about it. So these are kind of things that we should learn about, and also understand why these are not things that are heavily promoted, but we don't know about. So there's a lot more, and we have a lot of Surinamese people in very important places in the world. But I think we should definitely start respecting each other, but also stop underestimating yourself. We're a lot more creative than people think. When I studied in Belgium, I studied my master. I did 3 months in Brussels, and I learned about the marketing budgets that European cities have to promote their city. And I was like, whoa, if we had those budgets to promote Suriname, wow. But then on the other hand, we're like, because we don't have these budgets, we are much more creative than we think. And we should definitely not take that for granted.
Speaking of budgets and like marketing and branding, let's play a little hypothetical to close this off. Let's assume we've resolved that grab mentality. The we started lifting each other up. We were tapping into these unknown international relations with Surinamese roots. Rajiv, what are your thoughts on what the next step, as in a Surinamese brand, would be as a whole, taking into account that we've resolved the current issues we've just mentioned now? How would let's paint the picture. How would a Surinamese brand look? Or how would the brand Suriname look? Better said. You're on mute, by the way.
No, that's a good question. Even if we haven't resolved that issue, I think we should become more culturally confident. So self was saying from school too. And while I'm saying that, even I'm still exploring a lot about my culture. And it's not just our food and all. There's more to it. Uh, so I think we are one self-aware of what Suriname, its capabilities are, its strengths are, and at the same time, as a nation, we lift each other up, etc. Then we open up to partner with other brands, other countries, other. I think labels will come to us. Hey, let's do something together, and then we will not have only a 5% cut, but we'll have a bigger say in that because we have something so special to offer, and we are united in that front that you can't sell us apples, no, instead of pears. No, but we know what our value is, and dare to negotiate and dare to find the best deal for it and win partnerships. That's one, and I think the another level is that um, we will attract a certain type of investors. I can't name it yet, but certain type of investors that want to do responsible in industry. Some who want to build responsible industries. Take our, for example, our it's so many possibilities with our green pharma. Take our, I still believe that our sand has potential to do something with glass. You can build an industry with glass with that, or and many more things. And I went to, and just to come back to another comment, uh, I went to the what's that place called, the stew, the our lake, and it's funny how you asked that question earlier. Sula or the beach. I finally realized that we have our own beach, and with bluish water. So student is such a great opportunity to invest in kind of ecotourism to build it. And it's also there's a research has been done around it. But that's already worked out in detail how it's a great scenario for ecotourism. So that's one of the opportunities. We have so many. I mean, 2020 brought me so many good things. I mean, I started exploring my country even more, and I'm still exploring. So the COVID situation has brought also some opportunities. And one celebrity, and then probably many more. My company does business with the World Bank directly in Washington D.C. And I think for us it's a major milestone, but the head of the IT department, to call it like that, is from Surinamese descent, and there are probably many more from Surinamese roots. But and one of the questions I think for the remarks is we should track the successful Surinamese and make us interview them. I think if we make it interesting, and if we make it interesting for our diaspora to welcoming, I think they will gladly try to share their stories, because I think they're also a bit scared because that sentiment that has been created about being a traitor and all. Instead, I would see that as an advantage. Actually, you're still at this time thinking of leaving Suriname, I would say glad to do it and come back, or still try to add value, because we're part of a globalized world, and this is when you begin to become a world class economy, world class country. It's all in that's all part of it. And if I didn't leave at an early age and explore countries outside of Suriname, and I'm not counting Netherlands. Netherlands doesn't count. Other countries, my appreciation for my country would not be like how it's right now. It grew even more, and I realized what our value proposition is, and I'm still exploring that part, still finding new things.
I'm
Wow.
really glad you mentioned that to close off, to explore, and if you get a chance to do it, because I've experienced the same. Once you've seen how it is out there, from fully developed, well, what we call fully developed, there are different ranges of development in those countries, and you look back, you say, yeah, we got it good, even if there's so many problems, we still got it really, really, really good over here. Just my 2 cents on that.
I think COVID gives us an opportunity to look at that from a different perspective. It gives us an opportunity to look at different countries in the world where a lot of us want to go, places a lot of us want to go, and to think like, but why do we want to go there? Aside from learning something, like Rajiv said, if you have the opportunity to go abroad, to go study, to go away for a year, for even a couple of months, you should definitely do it. Unless you have small children like me, or the situation doesn't allow it
Take,
at the moment.
take them
But
with you.
but if you're in your mid 20s, you don't have any commitments to your family or to somebody else, and you get the opportunity, go. Don't think about trading your country, because the experience and the knowledge that you will get from that opportunity, there money can't buy it. I think that's one of the most important things. And but you really should start thinking about, why do I want to go to certain places, and actually explore if you don't have those opportunities here as well. And I'm going to give a very simple example. My wife is Dutch. She wants to go picnicking. She wants to go uh, to the beach, those kind of things. And we keep finding these places in Suriname where you can do those things. And of course, they're not properly equipped like they would be in developed countries, that everything is plated out because people see the opportunity and make it commercial. But we have all those places here. That's the crazy thing about it. We have all the opportunities here to make whatever there is in the world. And the other way, it doesn't go the other way around. When it's winter in certain countries in the world, you can't make it summer. It's just cold. It's just cold, cold, cold. And there's no way you can heat the place up to get the same feeling as you would get in Suriname. And I'm not just talking about the temperature, but also the
The
people,
people.
the
Yeah.
warmth of the people, the warmth of the food. These are kind of things, again, that both of you said, we take them for granted because we just look and we want to have it better. But as soon as you realize what the rest of the world has to offer and you come back to Suriname, you start enjoying it a lot more.
And I realized something. One value proposition that we also take for granted, and when I saw that, when I felt it, I thought, "Whoa, this is it." And that's when I in my wildlife program, when I was in Dallas. So it was election year, and the racial sentiment was also a bit hot, uh, but I think that has been around. But Dallas is part of Texas. So I'm in the bus at 6 p.m. I'm going back to my hostel, and I'm minding my business, just being sitting in the bus, and there is one other guy who was probably a war veteran, or just call him an older person, who was having a conversation with another woman, and they're talking about people taking their jobs, complaining about people taking their jobs, yada yada, from Iraq, blah blah blah, and I did not even make eye contact, and then, yeah, you're here and taking our job, blah blah blah. I was like, and I didn't say, and then he went on, and then I asked him, so where am I from? Because he's claiming that I'm taking his job. So where am I from? Because I think he was looking at my face and thinking of a specific profile, and that profile in his head takes jobs, and that's when I realized in the U.S. you people look at the world black and white. Here in Suriname, we look at the world in 4K, multicolored. We don't have that in front of our eyes, and we take that part so much for granted, and that's the sad part. So that's one thing I would love to cherish, keep cherishing, because that makes us very special.
Well, it's a awareness part as well, though. We do have to worry if we as Surinamese people are lazy and don't want to work. We've already seen with the Cubans, with the Haitians, the Guyanese. People will take our jobs the same way. If the economy gets better and people get paid better in Suriname, rest assured the rest of the Caribbean will come here and try to take our jobs because they are willing to work very hard for it. And if we get financially literate and know how to use that power of workforce and people who are dedicated to working hard and use it in our advantage, it's also very positive. But we also have to be aware that that as the rest of the world, if we get it better in Suriname, if Suriname develops, and the rest of the world sees us as an opportunity, there will come a change, and we will also get to be the focal point of migration throughout the Caribbean and Latin America. So yeah, we shouldn't take our position for granted. That's also what I'm thinking. He was thinking that you were Mexican. I'm not sure why, but I am thinking that he was thinking that you were Mexican.
Well, yeah, he was mentioning things about Iraq and all that, and Indians.
Yeah.
At that time, a lot of Indians were
Oh yeah,
being
Indians, of
invited.
course. Indians
Yeah,
could
so
be an option, but he could also think that you were Mexican.
could be, but that's why I asked him for. So where am I from? And he couldn't answer, and then he complained, "You're taking our job, and I'm here trying to get home." No, but you
Yeah.
have you're talking about a topic that we should definitely also start discussing, have massive discussions about it. There are new influx of people that will arrive in Suriname, how we will handle it, how we will take these people into our communities, because that's also part of becoming successful, becoming world class. Um, yeah, I think we should. We don't have to reinvent the wheel, though. We can look into other nations who have done that.
There are not that many
Kind of
that have
thing.
done it successfully, actually.
Well, the one that
But I
comes,
think this is,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
What
that's a
what
topic
which
for
comes to mind?
another.
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
Dubai got like
Thank you,
80,
Dave.
90% are migrants there. And when you, and I've seen this in New Zealand too, there's a lot of migrants going there, and also from the Pacific Islands, migrant workers, because, you know, they're very laid back, so they leave these like hard jobs for the migrants, but it is they who then contribute to the total economy. um, and yeah, who wins in the end, that's, yeah, you can't really decide now, but that's really something, a topic we should or can explore more in another episode. But speaking of taking jobs, so to close off, if I may, Rajiv, do you have any last messages? What can people expect from you in the coming months? Where can people find you? How do they find Silicon Dorp? And anything else you'd like to add?
No, first of all, thank you, Dio and Jean-luc, for this opportunity, and everyone who tuned in, asked questions. Uh, Silicon Dorp, you can, there's a LinkedIn page and there's a Facebook page. Domain is already reserved. You can also go to silicondorp.com, and it will bring you to the social media page. I think this year it will be a lot of how do you say, exploring. There's a phase of partnerships and a phase of programs. One of the things that we're preparing is to do an accelerator type of, or a pitch competition type of program, and then and a, a Shark Tank spin-off called Anyumara Tank. But that's something either end of the year or next year, because we still have to, you build up, and Shark Tank level is a bit on another level. So we will have to build it, and the good thing is I don't have to do it. So a lot of others are doing these type of activities. So I will definitely reach out to them and also give them the full picture. This is your part in the ecosystem, and try to find the missing pieces. And so it's about working together. It's not my vision. I want everybody to own it and run with it, and because in the end we all benefit. That's the head of ecosystem builder. So and then the message I want to leave everyone with is, we started the hashtag Sarang Sani for the world, and I strongly believe that we have a lot to offer the world, business wise and culture wise, everything else. So let's work on that, and I think a lot of people are already doing that, but let's consciously and in work towards creating products that we can also export, either physical products or just services. um, we have a lot to offer, a lot of good things to offer. And with that being said, Suriname, uh, believe in the vision, believe in what we can become, and that is for me that the cultural confident nation with Wakanda level state of doing things.
Awesome.
Thank you, Rajiv. Do you have any last comments that we need to shout out?
Yeah, sure.
And then you
I
can
think
roll
so.
out the credits, I think. We would like to
Awesome.
thank everyone for joining. Yeah.
Thank you for joining. Some last comments, and then we'll close it off. Thank you, Michael. Suriname, discover the unexplored potential. There is a saying: if you build it, they will come. And Sranasani for the world. Thank you all for watching. This was Social Confoes. See you next week, Tuesday at 9 p.m. Surinamese time. Bye bye.